It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's year-end list season. I really do love year-end lists. As you know, if you're a music nerd like me, in December, new releases are kind of drying up. There's not that much new stuff coming out. And even though there's probably not many things that make me more happy than finding a new record that really excites me, it's also kind of nice to get a little bit of a break, to have a little moment to reflect on what came out this year, what really excited you throughout the year, and revisit some of those records and trying to figure out which ones were the ones that really stood out among this ocean of new releases that we luckily have all the time for the rest of the year. I also really love to read, watch, listen to other people's year-end lists, because pretty much every year I end up discovering some records that I might have missed throughout the year and that end up really getting into my heavy rotation. So I want to invite you right off the bat here to put your favorite records in the comments as well. I'm sure I'm gonna discover some stuff that I personally missed, and I hope in this list that I have compiled here that you find some records that you might have missed that you end up really liking. We are 22 Sound, independent record store in Mandeville, Louisiana. That's, if you're not familiar with the area, right outside of New Orleans. So, of course, as a small record store, we're all just music nerds with day jobs on the side. We're doing this out of the love for music. So if you want to support us, best thing, of course, or the easiest would be to subscribe to our channel, follow us on our socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Throughout the year, we're always keeping you up to date with the stuff that came to the store, but just also other records that we like. We love to share our love for music with y'all. And of course, visit our store if you're in the area. If not, you can visit us online to 22soundrecords.com. All right, so let's get into this list of what I think were really outstanding records of the year. I can't say they're the best records of the year because that's just an impossible thing to say. Music is subjective. I think that's actually one of the nice things about music, that you can't really measure it. But all of these records really stood out to me. I'm starting with Wednesday. Their record Bleeds. This was really one of the big indie rock records of this year. Got a lot of critical praise throughout the year, and I think it's absolutely deserved. What I really love about this record stylistically is probably best described as like, well, of course, indie rock, but alternative rock with country influences. And I think those country influences is really what won me over this time. I liked Red Saw God, but wasn't as excited as a lot of other people. But I think with this one, they really got me. I think this feels a little bit like they really embraced their southern roots on this one, hence the kind of country influences that are a little more dominant here. I would say the lead single, Elderberry Wine, probably my most listened to individual song of the year. Really could work on country radio pretty much. But there's also a lot of more rock moments on here. It's not a country record overall. What I like so much too about it is Carly is such a great storyteller. Like I said, they really kind of embrace their southern roots. It's kind of like she's an observer of small town life that you probably don't just have in the South. I myself lived in the South for 12 years, part of it in New Orleans, part of it a little outside of it. My wife's family is from a small town, so there's just so many little moments that she describes that I feel I can completely relate to, and that is just a really great gift that she has, all packaged into really memorable, catchy songs. So even if you're from a big city, you should check this out. Next up is Jules, Violent Delights. This is a brand new band to me. That's a debut record, and I would say stylistically rock, kind of with some punk rock, post-punk influences. There's certainly a punk rock energy to it, and that's really what grabs you immediately. There's a constant energy to it, but I think what's so great about it, or really kept me coming back to this record, is that pretty much every song just has a big chorus to it, a big explosive chorus that really nestles itself in your brain. A lot of the verses are in the kind of talk singing, like almost spoken wordy style. So there's a lot of actually pretty heavy subjects that they put in here, but all really cool packaged into just great, big, energetic rock songs. Really, it was a nice little surprise for me here because I was not aware of them before. Next up is some old heroes, old pros. Armand Hammer and the Alchemist teamed up again to make Mercy, and this is just a really solid, great hip-hop record. That kind of alternative hip-hop, I wouldn't call it underground anymore, they're too big for that, but these are really just people at the top of their game, just knowing what they're doing, and that can sometimes turn into maybe kind of paint by numbers if you're almost too good at your craft, but I never feel like that on this record. I think they're just a really great matchup. The Alchemist seems to be the perfect producer for them. Billy Woods also had a really cool solo record, but this is actually the record that I personally enjoyed more. It's one that I really listened to quite a bit. One of the hip-hop highlights of the year. Next up we have another really great collaboration, Chad Paul and Hayden Pettigo, In the Earth Again. This is really at first glance a bit of an unusual collaboration, and because Chad Paul more of kind of like a noise rock outfit, while Hayden Pettigo is this kind of ambient country guitarist, but it just works absolutely great. It really is like the combination of those creative entities coming together. It seems like they both kind of get the same amount of space, so there's moments of sheer beauty on here. Sometimes with collaboration records, what sometimes happens is I find that maybe they're just kind of having a great time together and putting out some music on the side, and it doesn't always translate to really emotionally intense music, but they really pulled that off. I would say the closer to this record might be one of the most gut-wrenching songs I heard all year. So there's really moments of beauty, of emotional intensity, but also moments of, noise, really heavy moments as well. It really is kind of the best of both worlds that they put together, and I find they really crafted a record that sounds like nothing else really I can think of. It's really very unique record. Great stuff. Next up is Sam Fender with his record People Watching, and this might be just the most meticulously, professionally crafted record of the year. I feel like everything on here is just done so carefully, so perfectly. It really is very impressive. That's professionals at work here. Sam Fender is a great songwriter. I can't really talk about him without mentioning Bruce Springsteen. It's just like the first thing that kind of comes to mind. I'm not saying he sounds exactly like Bruce Springsteen, but he has a lot of the great qualities that Bruce Springsteen has. The lyricism, that kind of describing of the working class experience in a different setting, of course, England of the 2020s, but it's interesting how it kind of makes you realize how many similarities there are actually, but also he's just a wonderful songwriter sonically. Really so many moments when you listen to this record, your brain kind of doesn't know which hook it wants to repeat to you for the rest of the day, because there's so many of them. It has like really an immediate effect on you, but it's also just like so greatly arranged. It's really a piece of work, of craftsmanship. Absolutely wonderful record from start to finish. Next up is Turnstile, one of the big stories in rock this year for sure. Turnstile has managed to really kind of get into the mainstream as a hardcore band. And of course, there's a lot of people who say, well, it's not hardcore anymore, and it's probably true partially. This album is not a full-on hardcore album. It has those elements in there, but they're much more than that in the meantime, and I think it's great that they are. They had to follow up a really big record that really kind of got them into the conversation beyond their scene, and that's never an easy task to do, but I think they did actually exactly the right thing. They built upon Glow On, and it seems like all the little things that made it so great, they kind of went into those directions more. It's like they expanded what they already created even more, put it into really memorable songs. One thing I saw shortly after this record came out, a little video of somebody showing like how can you make a Turnstile song in 90 seconds. It was a bit of a satire, but I think it came out of love. And what was actually kind of cool is it is true that there's certain elements that Turnstile uses over and over again, but I think that's actually a positive thing. They really kind of crafted their own thing. They carved out their own niche, their own sound. As soon as you put this on, you know this can only be Turnstile, even though of course they are influenced by people that came before them. But I think they really did a great job at expanding on what they've already created. And I think this will be a band that we keep watching for quite a while. Great record. Next up is Danny Brown. I think one of just the most exciting rappers of the moment. He's actually kind of an old pro as well. It's been in the game for quite a while. But what's cool about this record, it is actually pretty much a collaboration record too. That's not so unusual for hip hop, of course. Pretty much in every song he has other people featuring it. And mainly he focused here on hyperpop people, that hyperpop artists that he's working with. I'm definitely not the biggest hyperpop fan, or much less of an expert here, but there's something I really love about hyperpop is that kind of lawlessness, that just boundless creativity, the just anything goes attitude, and I think that really matches well with Danny Brown's persona, his style. So this is kind of like a hyper hip-hop record, I guess. Danny is the one that kind of keeps it together to make it feel like an album and not a playlist. But in a way, you can probably guess I'm a big fan of albums, the art form, and a little less of just random playlists. But I think in a way it's kind of cool how they combine here those two things together. It's like a playlist that became an album in a way. Really cool stuff, really full of energy, full of creativity. It goes in all kinds of different directions, and it's just super entertaining to listen to. Next up is Crippling Alcoholism, Cam Girl. This is stylistically, I would probably say, like a gothic, post-punk, synth-wave kind of melange. Really a dark record. This is a record that kind of deals with the dark parts of human nature, but they put it together, or they come up with such great songs, such great memorable hooks that are not really like in your face hooks, because vocally it's all kind of in the same range, but the melodies are really nicely crafted. So it's a record that when I first listened to it, what kind of got me in was that general vibe that was really cool. What kept me coming back was that the songs are really memorable, and I find like it's a record that every time you listen to it, it kind of opens up more, and you become more aware of that memorability of the record. Really cool stuff. Next up is Agriculture, the Spiritual Sound. I'm gonna make a separate metal only video too, because I'm a big metal head, so I kind of stopped myself of putting too much metal into this list, but I wanted to put at least one metal record in here as kind of like a representative, and I think this is a great representative. I would say overall, stylistically, you can kind of call it a black metal record, but it's so much more than black metal. It has some of the trademarks, of course, at first glance, like the kind of high-pitched shrieks that a lot of the vocals are. That's very black metal. There's a good bit of tremolo riffing, blast beats as well, but it's really a record that's just boundless creativity. So many things are happening. There's one song that is essentially just a kind of almost like a folksy kind of ballad in there. There's really like hard-hitting, heavy riffs that are really like meaty kind of riffs that you don't really hear in black metal. Usually there's some great soloing. The guitar player can really shred, but really uses it sparingly, uses it in the service of the songs. This is an anything goes crazy record in a way, but it's so nicely crafted that it actually all works out. This could be a big mess because it's so many different influences, so many different styles coming together, but it actually ends up really working. And every time I'm done listening to it, I feel like I can't believe it's already over. It's a relatively short record, but so much happening. It's really great how they crafted that into an actual album. I love when albums if they kind of like have something holding them together. They really feel like a collection of songs that belongs together. But when those songs kind of go into different directions and work on their own as well, they really nailed that on here. Great record. And last but definitely not least, Greg Freeman, Burn Over. One of my favorite records of the year. I will probably call that somewhere like the indie rock, alternative country section as well, stylistically speaking. I think there's a little bit of that kind of heartland rock vibe in it as well that I personally love so much. There's like a warmth to it, and he's just such a great songwriter. And I love how there's like little moments on there. It almost seems a little jam bandy as well. That he kind of lets the music breathe. He gives it time to kind of evolve and have those little moments that sometimes almost feel like it's about to fall apart. But he always kind of finds a way to get it back together. It's really a record that grows too. I loved it when I listened to it the first time, but I really feel like every time I listen to it, I like it a little more. There's a lot of little details on there, but at the same time, it is really catchy at first glance. So it's like an immediacy and a long-term value at the same time. Absolutely wonderful record. All right, these were my most outstanding records personally for 2025. I'm sure as soon as I upload this video, I think of another record that I should have put in, but that's okay. At some point, you just gotta do it and put it out there. As I said, I would love to hear what you really like this year. Hopefully, I discover some stuff that I missed, and I hope you go now and check these things out and find something that you really like too. And if you want the physical record, go order it at 22 Sound. That would be really great. All right, don't forget to subscribe, follow, comment, like. It would be really great. It really helps our store out if you do all those things. Thank you very much for watching.